David here, and I've thought about it. I don't know what prompted me to come in here and open up my spark plug drawer. But I decided to come in here and look at the spark plugs that I have and get them all organized and straighten them out. I know one thing, I have yard saled some equipment, and I was thinking, oh, I have some extra spark plugs. They're brand new, at least the vast majority of them are, as you'll see. And maybe I could just throw them on eBay or something and get a few pennies back or something like that, you know, whatever. So I started to go through my equipment, and oh my gosh. Alright, so I have Briggs Stratton, Kawasaki, Honda, Aaron's, and Steel. Those are the manufacturers. And whew, the worst one of the bunch was the Briggs and Stratton. Here you see the OEM spark plug, the original factory plug on a Briggs & Stratton engine, no matter what it's on, will have the logo on it. And then if you want to buy another Champion RC12YC, it will not have the logo on it. Well, I purchase NGK. So I wanted to make sure I had an NGK, and that was just a nightmare. So it turns out that the Briggs & Stratton RC12YC is the NGK BKR5E, stock number 1172. And I also went to the official NGK website to get the gap and the wrench size. So I was really surprised at the large gaps, because I said in one of my videos on the Honda engine where I redid the mower, that's a self-propelled mower, but I didn't want to spell all that out. I overhauled, or should I say I refurbished, the Honda engine on the Troy-built self-propelled mower, and I pointed out I had the wrong spark plug in there, and the gap I thought was too wide at 36. Said it was 36 from the factory, and I dropped it down to 30. So now I think I need to go back in there and widen it back up again. So, because, you know, I'm old, so I go by the 10-20-30 rule. You know, 10 mils for the gap between the flywheel and the magneto, 20 for your points gap, which points don't exist in my life anymore, and then 30 for the spark plug. So I am being re-educated. Points are gone, gaps are wider. Okay, so that was my worst one, was the pressure washer, figuring out the equivalent NGK. And then what was really weird, on the NGK's official website, they listed the BPR4ES, but they didn't have any details on it. I had to figure out what the wrench size was and what the gap was and what the stock number was and all that. I had to figure that out. So that was the second worst one. Everybody else I was able to figure out quite easily. That it was in the manual. You know, I just looked it up in the manual. So as a matter of fact, the Kawasaki lists this in their manual, but I had to look up the stock number, the gap, and the wrench size. So, you know, craziness. It was just round and round and round. I couldn't get a consistent feedback. I mean, some of these were so straightforward, they gave you everything, and then others you had to hunt and hunt and hunt, with the Briggs & Stratton being the worst of the lot. So what do I have in here? Well, I'm going to have to get organized. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different spark plugs for 6 different pieces of equipment. So there's no combining of anything. So I was going to go through my inventory, make sure that I had at least one new one of what I needed, and then maybe an older used one, like for example this one. See, this one just has very little time on it. I think it's a 6. Yeah, it's a BPR 6ES. So that's for the snow blower. I think I had this one in the lawnmower because it was the wrong one. Because when I purchased the Honda shop manual, it told me to use the 5. The 6 goes in their Honda engine pressure washer. So if you have a pressure washer with the Honda gasoline engine, you would use the 6ES. So my whole point of this video is spark plugs are just one of those things that a homeowner doesn't really think about. I mean, you know, you get a spark plug, they tell you to change it every year, but I don't do that. I only change it when there's a problem, or I don't know, if I change the oil or something, I'll look at it, and if it looks a little suspicious or all gummed up or some other thing, I might change it. You know, with the chainsaw, you know, that's a 2-stroke engine, has oil in it, so they get fouled up fairly quickly. But I only change them based on hours used, not opposed to time. I mean, I might not use my chainsaw for a couple of years. And then I might use it for, I don't know, 16, 20 hours? Yeah, I just go crazy, you know, storm damage or something. But anyway, so just go through all your equipment. I recommend that you go through all your equipment and make a little chart here. See what spark plugs you need. Go to your manuals first, your user manuals. If you're lucky enough to have a shop manual, that's a lot easier. That's a lot quicker, I should say. Figure out which spark plug you need, and also the stock number. Here, let me show you something with NGK. See, these spark plugs look similar. BC PR5ES and BPR5ES. Are they similar? Well, what's that C stand for? So anyway, just be careful with your spark plugs. It can actually hurt your engine if you use the wrong one. Actual physical damage. And then sometimes if it's too cold, a lot of that residue will build up in there and your rings will get stuck, and it's just a real nightmare. And all that happens over such a slow period of time that you won't even realize it. And then you'll say, it's a piece of junk. Then you go back to Home Depot or Lowe's or something, or Menards or whatever, you know, and buy something they have sitting there on the street, and it only lasts 3 or 4 years and you can't figure out why. I recommend going to the dealer. It's a higher quality right out the gate. So, and then take care of them. So I'm going to go through all my spark plugs, see which ones I need with my current equipment, remove all the ones that I don't need anymore or not listed as current equipment. Okay, here's what I learned. I finally found out the difference between the silver box, the gray box, and the yellow-red box. So when I looked up on their website, it was very confusing because they both said that it was the standard tip and ground. Let's see, I'm kind of zoomed in here. Oh, I zoomed out, yay. So they both had this standard tip and ground, but then I saw this V-cut center, but then they talked about it with all the spark plugs. It was like standard text everywhere. So I became confused. And then also when I was looking at the Honda mower, the BPR 5ES, they were listing the 7734 as vehicle plugs. They listed like BMWs and stuff like that. And then they listed the 4006, all the equipment that they associated with this part number, or stock number they call it, were small engine. So I became confused because it was like 4 different pieces of information. But really what it boils down to is this. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay. So we won't go into all the trouble I had with the camera, but basically it's better to zoom into the picture than bring the part up close to the camera. So the difference is there's a V-notch. See that V-notch right there, and this one is like your standard flat round end that you've seen since the beginning of time on your spark plugs. So NGK claims that that helps guide the arc to the edge to better ignite the fuel. So, and this is kind of a random, center of the core to anywhere on the ground, that kind of situation. So that's the difference. So the silver boxes, which are off camera now. So the silver boxes have the V-notch, and your traditional yellow and red is just the flat standard type of electrode. Even though they're both copper and nickel, meaning that the center core here, even though it doesn't look like copper, they say it's copper, and then your ground being a nickel. So that is what that is. So that's fine. So they're both the same as far as I'm concerned. I'm not looking for super performance or anything like that. The flat one is just as good as the cut one for me. We're talking lawn equipment here. Was I had some spark plugs from long ago, but they haven't been discontinued. So I couldn't figure out what the difference between the 4006 and the 7734 was. They both have the same number. But notice on this box, it says the terminal is solid. So they used to package them in the same boxes, but now they have changed the colors to silver boxes and yellow and red boxes when they're talking about the different tips. So that's what's going on there. So there is your education on spark plugs, or at least there is my education on spark plugs. So if you have spark plugs laying around all over the place and you don't know what's going on, you see all these different numbers, you don't know what it is. The only thing I know immediately is these 5s and 4 5s and 6s. The lower the number, the hotter the plug. That is immediate right then and there. So if you see same number, one's a 6, one's a 5, the 5 is hotter than the 6. Yeah. So, and then all these others I haven't decoded yet, so I'm not putting it in the video. I was just trying to sort out what I have. And so there's my quick education on spark plugs for the equipment that I have. So I went through all my equipment: pressure washer, zero turn, self-propelled mower, snow blower, trimmer, and chainsaw. Went through all of the engine manufacturers, because if you look in the user guide, a lot of times you have to go to the engine book, because for example my mower is a Troy built self-propelled mower, but the engine is a Honda GVC 160, if I remember off the top of my head. And I was putting in the wrong spark plug. I was putting in the BPR 6 ES, but it gets the 5 ES. So, you know, crazy stuff. I mean, spark plug you'd think was just a simple little thing. However, I think you should go ahead and put the correct plug into your equipment. It'll make things a whole lot better and surprisingly easier to start, idle smoother. High performance, probably won't notice any difference. But the important things, which is start and idle, you'll see a definite improvement. So that's my video on my spark plug education. Went through, made sure I had what size sockets I needed, what the gap was, and all kinds of other things. So go through your spark plugs, make sure you have the correct ones, and have a great day.